and welcome back to Calling Scotland. My name is Dr. Joe Murray, and today I'm going to talk to you about renewable energy technologies. Apologies, I've got a wee bit of a rough throat today, but hopefully get through this. About 10 or 12 years ago, I was in Germany, southern Franconia, to be precise, around about the Ansbach area. And this was along with some other scientists and engineers looking at renewable technologies and the projects that they have there. Now, one thing we need to understand is that in Germany at that time, or since 2000, the year 2000, they've had a law, the EEG law. Now, I won't upset you with trying to explain that in German, but this was aimed at a feed-in tariff law whereby the companies who run the grid there had to pay a set amount for each kilowatt that came excess from renewable technologies. Now, this made it easy then for groups. I'll go back to how it works over there. In Germany, and in rural Germany in particular, they have a sort of village, and around each village there is 7 or so farms, and they're all linked together around this village, so it's easy for them to pass things around to each other. Now, they could get together, which they did a lot, and just drop a plan and decide that they were going to have either a turbine farm or a biofuels facility, or heating and combined heating and power through wood chip or whatever. And they could go to the bank and give their plan over and say, well, they're going to produce X amount of kilowatt hours or gigajoules, however you want to measure it, and take off what they needed for themselves, and the excess would be sold to the grid at this fixed rate. And it was easy for financiers, for banks to see how much money would be made from this project, and it was easy for them then to give the money to the project. And this happened a lot. And so therefore, villagers and farmers were able to invest in themselves and their communities, and in doing so were increasing their skills, helping the development of renewable energy technologies, and working together become tighter communities. And all these different groups all coming together were benefiting the whole of the country. Now, this also created other businesses. To go back before that time, you'll remember that in Europe that we had these food mountains where we grew too much food, couldn't sell it all, and it was all getting thrown into landfill or whatever. Well, European Union in its wisdom decided then to set aside farmland, that you could not grow commercial crops on. But you could still grow crops on it, but you just couldn't sell them commercially. So a lot of farmers then turned to growing beets and other types of plants that they could use for biofuels. One of those plants that they would grow, which is quite common even in this country, is rapeseed. Now, around all these farms, these villages, you'd have one company starting up, which would have maybe a seed press. And we're talking industrial levels here. So all the farmers would ship all their rapeseed over to this business, who you would pay a fee to, and they would crush your rapeseed. You would get the oil from that, be filtered, you'd be given it back. Now, that oil was used to run farm vehicles. Hardly any of our farm vehicles, in fact I don't think there was a single one that we came across actually bought any fuel. They got it all for free. So that's quite an expense for a farmer, and to take that away was a big bonus for them. But not only that, when they've crushed the oil out the seed is then left as a big cake, a high protein cake, which was fed to cattle and other farm animals. So they were getting free feed for their animals as well. So that's another huge expense that was taken away from them. And all the time they're creating new energy for the farms, which they're getting for free. They're getting paid for the excess, and this is all going into the local community. And this is something that we should be doing. There's been attempts to have feed-in tariffs here in the UK, but they're swung more towards looking after big business than they are to looking after small communities or individuals. And it doesn't really work here. It doesn't work properly. There's nothing like what they have in Germany and some of the Scandinavian countries with these feed-in tariffs. They just don't work here. They'll never work in the United Kingdom, as far as I can see. There's just no will for it. But it can work and should work in an independent Scotland. And this will then help our economy. It will help our ecology of the country, and it will help the social aspects of the country as well. It can help create businesses and make it a cleaner, nicer place to live, and we're making money from it. Now, and this can be It doesn't all need to be. I'm not talking about covering the whole of the country in wind farms, though a lot of people go, oh, yes, you are. But no, I'm not, because what we need and what we have the technologies for and what we're really good at here in Scotland, and we're in the forefront of it 30 years ago till Thatcher decided she was bored with the environment and we withdrew all the development funding for it, and so too did David Cameron. Again, we have the skills and the wherewithal to create these technologies, and we need a whole raft of them, not just wind turbines. We need biofuel. We need to be using biofuels. We need to be using bioenergy plants. We need to be using tidal energy, wind energy, tidal energy, all sorts of other things that we can, a whole raft of them. And we can do that here in Scotland. I would argue against tidal barriers, but that's a different argument. But there's other ways of getting energy from tidal, from taking the tidal energy out. But we should be looking at this seriously. One of the projects that I did look at, and you have to be wary as well when you're doing these things. I mentioned about wind farms. These ones were quite small because you're only trying to feed maybe a small village and some 7 farms. So the energy demand wasn't huge, but you could produce quite a lot without a huge plant. Now, one of the places we went to look at was precisely that, and the villagers were very supportive of the farmers in building this on their own land. They all pitch in. But what happened after the farmers started to make quite a lot of money was that they got a wee bit greedy and decided they wanted to extend their wind farm. Now, we're living in quite a beautiful rural area. They're living in quite a beautiful rural area down there. If you know North Bavaria, southern Franconia, you know where I'm talking about, and it's a very beautiful place. And the villagers became a little bit upset about that because they were kind of industrialising their view from their houses, and the project was curtailed. Quite rightly so. They didn't actually need any more than that. The farmers were just being greedy. And this had a knock-on effect, and other people and other projects took that on board, because you need to have the goodwill of the people round about you to make these things work. And in general, over there, that's exactly what they did have. So you need to keep these things in mind. You need to keep people on side. You can't be upsetting too many people. You can't keep everybody happy, of course. Another project that I visited over there was a farm. Now, we had interpreters with us, but because I couldn't speak German, and neither could most of our group. But some of these guys and women are just so enthusiastic about what they're doing that you can they're telling you in German, but you know what they're saying. One, because we understood the science and the technology of it anyway, but so you kind of picked up what they were saying, and they were all decent people. We had a great time with these guys. But one of the projects was a farm that we went to visit. There was a guy there, about the same age as I was, and his grandfather, they had a river running through the farm, and his grandfather had built a Francis turbine. It was a wooden turbine. He built it by hand, and he built it in, I think it was 1902 or something that he built this thing, and it was still working. And I had asked at any point did they ever bring in extra energy or power for his farm. He said they'd never paid a single penny, if you like, on electricity for the farm in all that time. And now, because this turbine produced more than he actually needed, he was able to sell the other stuff by going to the bank and buying in some equipment that allowed him to connect it to the grid. And he was very pleased, and there was this wonderful old turbine still churning away, still churning out kilowatts, and he was getting all this for free. Now he was making money from it. And another farm that we'd visited, again had river. You don't need a huge head of water, that's height from water falling to another height, to actually get a decent generation if you've got decent equipment. And this fellow had bought what was basically an Archimedes screw and put it in his river, and the river ran over it. And now he was feeding his whole farm with electricity, and he was selling off the excess. He was making money from it. And all these different technologies were taken on board. Another farm had some wind turbines, and round the corner from 2 farms along, they had a biofuels generator, and it was a community-owned business, so they were all making money from it and getting all the electricity that they needed and feeding it all back into the grid and getting paid quite a substantial amount of money for it. So paying them back the equipment that they had bought or to have constructed was actually quite easy. Plus, they made profits. Another project was a village project. I remember this village. It's called Renewable. and I spoke to the mayor there. We met them there, and one of the lads there, his name was Heinz. Again, he couldn't speak English, but I just understood everything he was telling me. He was so enthusiastic about this. And what he had done was built a wood chip boiler, basically. And what he was doing was heating the whole village. And he had gone to the mayor and asked them if they could build this, if he could help him get the money to build this. He was a heating engineer anyway, and the mayor thought it was a great idea. So what Heinz did was that he taught the locals how to put all the pipework in and what they were doing, how it works. And being an old pipework engineer myself in a past life, it was great talking to him. I'm talking English, he's talking German, but we seemed to understand one another. They only had one problem, and that was the main road ran through the village. Now they had to get the pipes across the road. Now the mayor, he was a mayor of 3 local villages, didn't have any authority for that. So what he did was he went to the folks in the council who did deal with roads and said, look, have you get any plans to dig up the road here in Herbal? They went, well, yeah, we do, but it'll be next year. And he asked them, well, look, could you do it this year? Because we've got this project here, and if you come along and dig the road up, these guys can put their pipes across and get this project finished. And just in collaboration between each other, that's exactly what happened. They had 3 days to get the pipework across this road, under the road, because the guys came, dug it up, did their job. They brought it a year forward just so these guys could get their project working. And they were all very proud of it. And so they should be, because some of the houses there have got bits of glass wall showing you where all the pipework's going. They also had photovoltaics in there, and one of the farmers had a biofuels plant as well. And it was so relatively easily done, because they have this feed-in tariff, because the grid, who's still making mega bucks, were now helping people invest in themselves. And we need to be doing things like that here in Scotland. And we are able to do this in independent Scotland. It will never happen in this union. We know it will never happen because there is no will for it. They've tried it. It was all watered down and it's all filtered away into nothing. But it will happen in Scotland because the people who are in government in Scotland, who want to be in government in Scotland, want these things. The people want these things. And that's one of the reasons why I am looking to have an independent Scotland. Just one. There's lots of others as well. Now, one of the things I asked this Heinz and the mayor in that project was this: how long did it take you from getting your plans in to getting planning permission and getting the job done? How long did it take you to do that? And I've got something like 2 years in my head, okay, because that's how long it would take us to do it here with all the planning inhibitions. And he said 6 months. And that was 6 months from him going to the mayor, from Heinz going to the mayor using his influence to go and get the permissions that he needed, for going, taking a plan to the bank saying, yeah, this will work, there's the money. And Heinz training up his some local people to do some of the pipe work, and it was working perfectly. And this guy was over the moon. He was chuffed. The villagers were proud of their village and what they had done, and the mayor was proud of them, and I was absolutely enchanted by them. They had the whole village set out on the big table in the middle of the square and feeding us all, and the kids were all around stealing biscuits from their plates. It was absolutely wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful people. And they knew what they wanted, and they went for it. And they were doing that all over Germany. They're still doing it because the 20-year feed-in law, the EEG, it goes on till the year 2020. We should be doing that here. We are able to do that here. We've got the land to do it. We've got the skills to do it. We've got the knowledge to do it. We've got the will to do it. And our banks should be feeding in, because there's no reason why they won't, because they know they're going to make money from it. EEG in Germany, a Scottish Renewables Technologies Act in an independent Scotland, is what we should be looking at. And what we're after. It's what I'm after. It's what people who want to be in government, many people who want to be in government in Scotland, independent Scotland, that's what they want. It's what the people want, and many people want. And yeah, I don't want to see our skyline absolutely full of turbines. We've got so many different ways we can produce energy in this renewable energy in this Scotland. We have the technologies and the people and the wherewithal to do it. So I say, let's get on with it. Let's do it. Let's vote yes in the next referendum. Let's become independent, and let's run our country the way a small country like us should be run. I've just been told we're not supposed to call Scotland a small country anymore. Well, I'm sorry, but we are a small country. But by saying we're a small country doesn't say we're too wee. Most successful countries in this world are countries roughly the same size as ours. So yes, we're small. Small is beautiful. Go read Schumacher's Small is Beautiful. Read Alistair Gray's Why Scots Should Rule Scotland, and you'll understand what I'm saying to you. We are one of the finest small countries in the world, and there's nothing wrong with being small. There's lots wrong with being too wee, and we ain't too wee. We ain't poor, and we're smart enough to do everything we want to do. We've created the modern world, we can create our own country. And if anybody thinks that we can't, I'm sorry, I can only tell you you're just an absolute fool. Well, till next time, Alaba, goodbye.